What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 31 of the Game Room Podcast. I'm your host, Rome, alongside my co-host, Dev. We have producer Jeff here as well. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. It's been a while, I feel like.
I know we took a few weeks off. First, you were unavailable the one day, and then I was unavailable, and then Jeff had something. But no, we are back, and a lot's happened. Obviously, Nintendo Direct, the Microsoft FTC lawsuit case went down, which is going to be the topic tonight. We're going to be talking about that mostly.
Could be the last to talk about.
Hopefully,
that's like a main topic.
Well, hopefully, because we are currently live, and based off the time frame of when we should expect a decision, tonight is ideally kind of the end of that likely window. There is a chance it comes out, I think, tomorrow. I think tomorrow or Wednesday is the latest, but tonight is the most expected time.
So while I was doing the thumbnail for this, I was doing a little research at the same time, and the judge has actually announced that she's going to be declaring the public version of her verdict on the 12th. So if she does come up with a verdict tonight or tomorrow, it's going to be like the private courtroom verdict, and she'll release the public version on the 12th, is what I was reading.
Nice. Okay, I like that. Okay. I mean, I think it's going to get leaked, no matter what happens.
Well, yeah, that would be my assumption as well.
Yeah, it's something it's too big to hide, I feel like.
It comes out tonight, whether it be private or public,
Yeah.
It's going to get out. Yeah. But we're going to keep an eye on things anyway, see if it happens. If not, next week we'll probably be talking about it again. But, hopefully we're towards the end of it. However, we are going to get into the headlines before we talk more about Microsoft versus the FTC, because there was a lot of headlines off of that alone. So let's get into some non-Microsoft FTC stuff first. And for the headlines, we have 9 headlines. Number 1, Devroro, Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah, I didn't know about this until I saw your the headlines that you had set up for tonight, and I did not know this was a thing.
So Ubisoft is reportedly remaking Black Flag. In a report published by Kotaku, it's been claimed that Ubisoft is remaking Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Like, you know what? Let's just Skull and Bones is not working out.
Yeah,
let's go back to where.
When I saw this, I thought of you because I was like, poor Devroro. He's been waiting on Skull and Bones for years, and they were like, guys, just stop. Black Flag was so great. There's no need to go back and try to do something new. Let's just redo what works. Yeah. Which I would prefer it, because Black Flag is incredible. I have no faith in Skull and Bones, so I'm glad that they're doing something like this. So, obviously, Deborah, where do you rank? I don't need an exact ranking, but Black Flag, where do you put that in the Assassin's Creed?
It's in my top 3. I would have to. I don't know if we did a thing already.
We haven't, but we should.
Yeah, it's in my top 3. It's one of my favorites, and yeah, remaking it. I'll play it again, I think.
So, in the article published by Kotaku, it was stressed that the sources of this news are unwilling to be named, as is expected, but they're familiar with the plans, that they are their earliest stages of development. Now, when they say that makes me wonder, is this going to be a full-blown remake, or are they just remastering and re-releasing it?
I mean, I would imagine a remake with the newest engine, yeah,
it would be funny if it was Black Flag, but you couldn't get off the boat. They're just like, you're going to take this pirate combat and you're going to like it, damn it.
They just renamed Skull and Bones Black Flag.
But no, for me, this is definitely a top 5 for me, I think. Maybe top 4 or 3 as well. I love Black Flag. I think it was one of the last great Assassin's games. So yeah, hopefully we get a remake of this. I would definitely be down.
Both Xbox and what's up, everybody?
Speaking of reboots and remakes, number 2 in the headlines.
Hey, what's up to you? Forgot my hat.
Well, Ty, someone else forgot their hat. Yeah, Ty, I didn't forget mine today. I forgot my hat on the wrestling podcast. I was like, where's your hat? Xbox's Perfect Dark reboot is still years away after a series of setbacks. Obviously, we got the reveal for Perfect Dark back at the Game Awards in 2020. The Initiative, which was Xbox's new studio at the time, was rebooting the franchise. Since then, the development team has gone through a bunch of development hell. The game has just struggled to the point where they brought Crystal Dynamics in, the developers behind the Tomb Raider reboots, which great games. I love Crystal Dynamics. I think they're very talented. But the game is apparently years out. Matt Booty had gone on record saying that he had seen a build of the game and it had turned a corner, but there was a lot of work that needs to be done. It seems like the game had basically restarted development.
I mean, from what I've heard, I've only heard, I think once, maybe last year, a little news came out that it was in development hell, basically. Like,
yeah,
the people in charge didn't want to budge on gameplay mechanics that developers wanted to add. And I heard there was head bashing. Some people quit.
Well, yeah. So a lot of people have quit from the initiative. Apparently, I think what it comes down to is I think this studio was formed off the idea if you bring a lot of veterans in the games industry together, they were going to create magic.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, like if there wasn't a creative vision there to lead the studio, like that doesn't mean much.
They had to come up with the vision. I think that's where they were all butting heads.
Yeah.
Trying to put their own vision into this game, and yeah, that's not good news. That's not what you want to hear from a quadruple ace,
Yeah. I will say this though, with Crystal Dynamics again taking over, I think that this is like Crystal Dynamics is great, and I think the game is actually going to be really, really when it does come out.
I hope so.
TJ says this is an L for Xbox. If the game comes out in the next 2 years, it might not be the worst, but if it's coming out beyond that, then that's just bad management. I mean, what about Metroid Prime 4? Like that game was announced 7 years ago, and it hasn't come out yet. So, I mean, like I get your point. These things happen in development, though. Making games is hard. And
but like I said before, if the game comes out and it's really good, I do think that people forget how long something was in development. I mean, look at Breath of the Wild. It was in development 5 years.
Right.
Or Tears of the Kingdom, I'm sorry. 5-6 years, and like no one's complaining about that now that the game's out. So I just think if the game comes out and it's good, it just has to.
I mean, no, I completely agree. I think that's a great point that,
it sucks.
I would rather a game take its time and be really good when it comes out. Like, I don't need to play Perfect Dark in the next 2 years. I'd love to, but I don't need to. So I think it makes sense, and I'm okay with it.
Skull and Bones comes out and it's good.
But that's not going to be. There's no way that game is good. Yeah, right, exactly. You take 7 years to make a game, the game's going to turn around. Skull and Bones is not turning around.
So
we will. If it ever comes out. That's a game I would not be surprised if they're just like, you know what? Not happening. See, Ty in the chat says, you're allowed to have a few L's when you show W. Nintendo showed Animal Crossing, Pokemon, Zelda, Splatoon, and that's a fair point. I could definitely get that, but I think that it is...
that is true.
I'm not disagreeing with the sentiment that it's mismanagement on Xbox's part, but I think Xbox decided to make this veteran studio and let these developers do their thing, and they're learning a lesson here, and that's just kind of what you need to do. They need to learn these lessons. Xbox spent a lot of time that we don't think about with like 3 studios making 3 franchises, and now they're looking at the landscape of gaming and they see PlayStation with all their studios, they see Nintendo with all their IP, and they know that they need to compete, so they added all these studios.
That is something they're going to have to learn really quickly, because that is a good point. Say what you will about Sony, they're really good at managing their developers.
Yeah, no,
their first party developers, they're really good at that, and Xbox needs to learn that quickly. I don't know. I think they're gathering so many studios. Like we're talking about the Activision Blizzard thing that's going to happen soon. They have to be able to manage all of their studios.
I mean, I think we have to see how the pipeline shakes out and how these games that are coming, like how they turn out. I mean, Starfield's coming up, and then after that, next year you go right into Hellblade. You go into.
But like so far, these games that we're talking about were in development. I wouldn't say. I mean, I guess Hellblade will be the first game that's started in development under Xbox.
Yeah.
So like, which that's going to be good. That's we already know that's going to be good. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, obviously, again, we got to wait and see what happens. But I don't know. I think I chalk it up to learning experiences, which they do need to learn. But
I just don't want learning experiences means a lot more L's, and I don't want a lot more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I'm gonna continue to kind of be the more optimistic one here, and just I have faith in the pipeline. I see the pipeline, and I think that obviously, like with Redfall, and then you look at some of the things with like Perfect Dark and the Initiative. But for the Initiative, I think Fable looks fantastic. So, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we could pick and choose and cherry pick things. And obviously, we need the games. But, I mean, we're in the moment now, so that's what it is, in my opinion.
Starfield has to carry a lot of weight because we're going to be eating out Starfield for a while.
The thing is, though, I mean, and I don't think this is a bold statement. I think we've seen enough of Starfield to already know that it's a great game.
I hope so.
Like, I don't know. Like, they've shown over an hour of this game. Like, there's a lot of good to like. I mean, unless the game is like bricking console. I don't know. It looks like one of those games where it's like that's a shoo-in to be a great game, in my opinion.
Sure.
We will. Speaking of great games, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, Devroro, obviously you're still playing Tears of the Kingdom. I'm very close to finishing Tears of the Kingdom. I may beat it tonight or tomorrow, depending on time. But, you know, physical sales, Devroro, physical copies of the game. A lot of people bought this game physically. How many, you might ask? Well, more physical copies of Tears of the Kingdom were sold than copies of Resident Evil 4 Remake or Star Wars Jedi Survivor combined, period.
I'm not surprised.
I thought it was a really cool stat. I thought that the fact that they sold more physically and Star Wars, including digital, that's nuts. I had saw something today after I had finalized the script, and it was something like the Tears of the Kingdom Switch adoption rate is at like 20%, which is like 20 million units sold or something like that for like 20 million copies of the game sold. Like that's.
I'm not surprised. It's system seller franchise. It's one of those. It's one of those games that comes out and people have to play.
Yeah. Which you need to hurry up and finish.
Real quick, I don't believe it was combined.
Not combined?
No, because they're saying that actually Hogwarts Legacy actually beat it. So.
Oh, that's true. Hogwarts Legacy was #1 game in just pre-orders before it even came out. It was insane.
Oh yeah, I see that there. Okay, so Zelda beat Star Wars total, period, and Resident Evil, period.
Yes.
That's still
and
a lot.
Elden Ring and Call of Duty. I mean,
yeah,
mashed them.
Yeah. I mean, also keeping in mind that Hogwarts Legacy has 3 months on the. So, all right. Moving right along to other Nintendo news. So, Deborah, would you say that Nintendo has done a good job at being in the present?
Not at all.
Being in 2023?
We talk about this a lot. Their internet side and the 2023 ecosystem, I guess you can call it. They're not really good at that.
But
fingers crossed for the future, right?
Well, I have some good news for you. Nintendo understands, and they are planning a smooth transition from the Switch to their next console by using players' Nintendo accounts. What a novel concept in 2023. Like, hey guys, what if they're in the Nintendo lab, right? Like they're making magic. They're cranking out the magic, right? And someone's like, guys, what if for the next console we just let them use the same accounts to easily move their stuff to the next console?
And I hope it's like.
And then they threw him out the window. They were like, "What are you talking about? We don't do that."
I get it. It has to be hard to do. I don't even think Sony really. I mean, Xbox. We know that Xbox is really good at that.
Yeah,
and we know moving forward, it's just going to be the series, whatever form of the series they have. It'd be great if Nintendo can get on that wagon. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there are currently 290 million Nintendo accounts across console and mobile.
You can't just drop that and start over again.
Can you?
Yeah, you can if you're Nintendo.
If you're Nintendo. So, like, hey, we're going to need you guys to pay for the NES games again.
Like, they just got N4 and NES games and Game Boy Color, right?
Game Boy Advance. Game Boy in general, yeah.
And just carry that over. Don't drop it. Don't drop the ball.
Something else that Nintendo had said recently, this was all during a investors Q&A, by the way. So Nintendo realizes that people like to scalp. They like to resale. They get those pre-orders in and they resell it for triple the price and whatnot. Nintendo is aware of that. And it's actually a problem that they want to make sure they address when their next console launches. They said, with regard to resale measures when launching new hardware, We recognize that the most important thing is to first produce and ship in numbers that can meet customer demand, said Nintendo president Shintaro Furukawa.
We talked about this too, about ways that kind of help. You said pre-orders would be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, honestly, I think the way that the industry does pre-orders is kind of ass backward. I think you should be able to walk into a store like with enough time in advance and pre-order something and like guarantee you're going to get that box. Like, if you really want the next Nintendo console, you should be able to walk into a GameStop 6 to 12 months beforehand and say, I want a console when it comes out. Here's $50 for the pre-order minimum. I don't see why you can't.
So, I think I told you this, and I want to find the article, but a few weeks ago, they said that Nintendo wants to announce the next gen console not too soon before they release it.
Yep.
Like I think it was like 4 to 6 months before they release it. So that's a little worrying.
That's very worrisome.
But maybe they've upped production to where they know this thing's gonna sell. Let's make millions of units.
Well, I think that also kind of leads to a really interesting question about what you think Nintendo's next console could be, because like they put out the Wii U before the Switch, and the Wii U was a failure. So like they don't want to print too many and then have to sit in a warehouse, if they don't sell.
If their plan is to make a Switch successor, a Switch 2,
yeah,
I think that's a safe bet.
Well, I'm hoping that the plan is to just basically run it back, make another Switch, make it more powerful, make it be able to handle things.
It's worrying because scalpers, if you have something that's 6 months out,
right?
Scalpers are going to buy, same thing they did with all the Xboxes and PS5s. This console generation.
Yeah. So Ty in the chat asking why it was worrying, and I agree. It's like we're talking about having a pre-order system where you can definitely get the console you want. I can't imagine the bloodbath, right? Like, let's say Nintendo does this, where they announce the next console, they show it off, they show some trailers for like a new 3D Mario game, and Metroid Prime 4 is coming to that console, not the Switch, and whatever. And then they're like, pre-orders begin shortly. Here's the release date. It's 3 months from now. The bloodbath of the next day of just trying to get those pre-orders. I don't even... Whew. Scary. Very scary. Ty says they are making the Switch 2. Bobby Kotick more or less announced that he did. It will have the same power as previous gen Xbox One, similar. Coog is here. He says, good evening, guys. The best Monday night alternative to USA Network's 3 hours of boring bottom-of-the-gutter programming. Thanks, Coog. Appreciate that. Yeah, so, we'll have to keep an eye on Nintendo.
And like I said, a Switch 2 is a safe bet. Make a bunch of Switch 2s, you're going to sell it.
But Nintendo doesn't like the safe bet, Devroro. Speaking of screwing up a safe bet, so again, we haven't done a show in like 3 weeks, Devroro, and a lot has happened. One of those things is the worst blockbuster game in years, worse than Redfall, came out, and that is Lord of the Rings Gollum. This game, I did not buy this game or play this game, but there's so many. I've seen enough. It's bad. How bad is it? The developer is quitting game development. And it sucks. It really does. But Daedalic Entertainment is revealing that it's casting the development side of its company into the fiery chasm from whence it came. Following the nothing short of disastrous launch of Gollum, Daedalic was forced to issue a public apology, but insisted it was still planning to develop further Lord of the Rings games. It even picked up a subsidy from the German Ministry of Economics to do so. It's safe to say that won't be the case. So Daedalic, it's sad news for Daedalic. The 25 employees at the studio will be laid off as the firm prepares to eradicate its development departments. Instead of making games, Daedalic will focus on publishing, licensing, marketing, and sales. It will no longer make games in-house, which effectively means the Lord of the Rings projects that were ongoing have now been canceled. Again, this is no surprise. The game was terrible, and it sucks to see, but it's also like
it does suck because I don't wish like downfall on developers.
I think
want them to make great games.
So I think that this is a problem with video games today. I just the problem with video games today is that they take so much time and money to make that, number one, you almost never want to try something new. Because if it doesn't make enough money, you're a failure of a studio, and you're gone. You know, like these games take so much resource to make that like you can't fail. And like obviously as a consumer, we don't want games to fail. But like this studio, they had a vision and they didn't land the mark. Like who knows? Maybe maybe they learn from these mistakes in a more perfect world and they go out and they make a great game next time. But now we'll never know. And I don't know. I think that that's not great.
I agree.
Let's head over to the chat. We got Grant B. What's up, Grant? He says, so without any bias, what do you think happens? I'm a PC gamer and have Xbox Game Pass, so personally, I hope it goes through for the Blizzard acquisition. Grant, so I'm in the same boat as you. I love Game Pass. I'm a big believer in it. I love all three. I have a Switch, I have a PS5, I have an Xbox Series X. My multi-plat console of choice is the Xbox, so I mean, I'm not going to hide that that's my console of preference when it comes to multi-platform. But I think that what's best for the games industry is for those big three to be doing well and firing on all cylinders. So I hope the deal goes through. I would like to get the Activision catalog, not just the future catalog, but the back catalog on Game Pass. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
What we were talking about earlier about Diablo 4.
Yeah, there's a rumor going around. Some advertisement was pulled about Diablo 4 being advertised for Game Pass. So it could just be like when the deal goes through, maybe they flip a switch and they put Diablo out on it. But, yeah, Grant. So like for me, and this is like, I don't think Xbox plans on taking Call of Duty away from PlayStation. I really don't think that's the case unless PlayStation doesn't want to do business, which that's out of Xbox's hand, I think. But no, I think Activision has been a terribly run AAA publisher for years at this point. We for your reference point, producer Jeff, big Blizzard fan, big World of Warcraft fan, hasn't touched really a lot of Blizzard games in the last decade, Jeff, outside of a little bit of Overwatch.
Yeah, Overwatch was the last one.
Yeah, it's like, and like I'm a big Call of Duty fan who's been on the decline of the games in recent years. Jeff also is. Yeah, so like I think Activision really could use a change of pace and a change of ownership. So I'm hoping the deal goes through. I think the deal will go through. We're going to talk about the case in a little bit. I thought the FTC did a absolutely terrible job, whether they're in the right or wrong. They did a terrible job defending their argument. But we will talk about that in a little bit. Ty says Daedalic was too ambitious. Developers should make smaller scale games. I actually agree with this. I saw something online, and
I don't know if I agree with that.
So hear me out. And This is what it said. It said, I want game developers to make shorter games for more money. Oh man, what was the whole saying? There was like a whole saying. It was like, I want developers to work less, making better games, making more money with less crunch. It's some really good quote out there. But it's basically like games should be a little bit smaller. They shouldn't be these ginormous things where it's like crunch is necessary and like the budgets are necessary.
Okay, I agree with that. Do you think that this Golem game was a big game? It's like a 20-hour game. I don't think that's
it. I think at the end of the day, it's a AAA game. But like, no, that's not. So I'm just saying that was the tweet that it was going around. It wasn't about Golem. It was about the games industry in general.
I know, but I'm saying like I don't think it was. This game didn't feel like it was ambitious, in my opinion. Maybe it was just because it came out bad. It just didn't feel like an ambitious game.
I mean, I can agree with that in terms of Golem specifically.
Yeah. Like even if you look at other, look at indie studios have made large games. Like, I mean, at the time, Minecraft was an indie studio at the time. No Man's Sky, that was an indie studio. It had a rough start, but that's a really big game. I don't know. I don't think you should put yourself in a box. I think you give yourself enough time and you have the vision there. You can make a big game as an indie studio and not hurt yourself.
Ty also goes on to say that Activision Blizzard catalog from a console perspective is trash, terrible, boring, sucks. Capcom or EA is better console-wise. I mean, I can see where you're coming from, but I think that there are some great games in the backlog there.
I mean, Activision Blizzard has a lot of good games.
Yeah, even on the console sphere. I mean, even if you go back far enough and you're talking about like the Marvel to Alliance, other things.
So like you had me playing older Call of Duties.
Yeah, older Call of Duties. I stand by a lot of the older Call of Duties. I think they're all fantastic.
Really fun.
Even in a single player sense, I think all the campaigns for the most part are very good.
I've always been a Diablo. I started with 3, but I went back and now I'm moving forward. I like Diablo a lot. No, I think they have a really good catalog. I think EA has a really great catalog. I don't think that's a whole nother issue. I don't know if you want to buy EA. But like, and EA starting to turn themselves around too with their games. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yep. Let's keep moving on. Gollum is gonna be in the rearview mirror. It'll never be talked about probably for ever
My
again.
Hero, Spyro, Crash.
Yeah, exactly.
His name, but
They have a lot of IP as well, though. Anyways, it's because again, people forget like they're not just buying Activision for like the game catalog; they're also buying the IP. You look at that IP library that Activision has. You could start making new Spyro games, Crash Bandicoot, et cetera. Like there's a lot there to work with in a first party sense. That isn't Call of Duty. Like you can make a new Crash Bandicoot game exclusive to Xbox. It's like wow, look at that. Let's go back to the chat again. Kook says Activision is terribly run AAA brand and Kona has a terrible run booking AAA. Nice comparison. Yeah, it is, Kook. Grant says the older CODs are still like $60 too. If all of them were on Game Pass, it would be amazing. I completely agree with that. I have this vision that I think would be really cool that like if you keep those servers up and running, you could just say like, okay, go play your favorite Call of Duty game. Like the new one will come out and it'll generate the buzz and that Call of Duty audience will move on. But like you could support all these games. Like even like the campaigns are great. We were talking about zombies the other day. I would love for us to sit down and play the zombie mode online if it comes to Game Pass. Like that would be so cool to get back into like Nazi zombie. But yeah, I would absolutely love all of those games to come to Game Pass. Next up in the headlines, a new Black Panther game is in development at EA Studio Cliffhanger.
Announced today, right?
This was announced. As previously reported, the studio was formed in 2021 and is led by Kevin Stevens, who was the boss of Warner's Monolith during development of the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor series. Oh, wow, that would have been a really good tie-in to the Gollum game. I didn't even think about that. That would have been really nice because I tried to do that. The original third-person single-player Black Panther game is being developed in collaboration with Marvel Games. Stevens goes on to say, we want our game to enable players to feel what it's like to be worthy of the Black Panther man in unique, story-driven ways. We want Cliffhanger Games to empower everyone on our team as we collaborate to bring this amazing world to life. We're still early in development with a long road ahead, but we know the foundation to any great story is to build an experienced team with diverse voices and perspectives, and that's what we want to build, especially with a superhero as important as Black Panther. I think it's interesting that Marvel Games has kind of had this this way of announcing games because like we know Ubisoft, I think it's Ubisoft is working on an Iron Man game. We know this Black Panther game is in development. I think it's kind of weird that like they're just announcing these games with like no fanfare, like almost at all. And like, it's Marvel. It's not a bad thing necessarily, but it's just a weird little thing. It's like, man, Marvel could be like dropping like teaser trailers for these games.
Isn't there already right now a
Captain America Black Panther game? Yeah, so Black Panther is going to be double dipped a little bit here.
Yeah.
We got 2 Black Panther games coming out in the next few years. But no, I'm excited for this. Obviously, we don't know much. It's just that it's a third-person action adventure game, I believe, which is definitely my thing. So I'm looking forward to it. Next up, number 8 on the headlines, AEW Fight Forever is getting a Battle Royale mode called Stadium Stampede. Now, so, Dev, since we haven't done a show in a few weeks, AEW Fight Forever came out, not to the best reception. I have not put a lot of time into it yet. I probably will once I'm done with Zelda. Played a few matches. I think the game is really fun. So I don't really have concrete thoughts of my own give and perspective, but the reviews came out generally kind of mixed, more kind of landing in the middle. People say that it lacks depth, lacks polish, lacks features that you would expect from wrestling games in today's day and age. And all of those things I could totally see with the limited time I've spent. However,
it is a game they're going to keep working, right?
It is a game that they're going to keep working on. Kenny Omega has said as much. I forget their name, but someone from THQ Nordic is like going around the wrestling community and like asking fans for their input on the game and like things that they'd like to see added, features, like and things like that. And I think that's really cool that like they're not just like sending this game out to pasture. They're going to support this game. And I'm looking forward to seeing where the game goes. One of the big first things we're going to be seeing from them is a battle royale mode, again called Stadium Stampede. Now, Devroro, you're not much of a wrestling fan, but Stadium Stampede is a match that they had during the pandemic era. It would be like a 5-on-5. They would fight in the stadium because the owner of AEW is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So they would basically use that stadium and they would have this huge, awesome fight. Now,
you showed me the trailer for it, and it looks ridiculous.
Yeah, producer Jeff has a plan right now, I believe, yeah.
But it looks ridiculous in a good way, in a fun way.
It looks like so much fun. So again, like I was going to lead into that. This looks so fun. Like I'm a big Battle Royale fan as it is. And like I'm just like watching, I've watched this 30-second trailer probably like 30 times. And I just think this looks like a blast. I want to bring in producer Jeff real quick to kind of get his take on this. Jeff, what do you think about the Stadium Stampede reveal?
I think it looks really cool with what they showed us there. That was a lot of gameplay for it, and looks like everything is destructible, I guess would be the word. Like they were destroying the seats and all kinds of stuff. So that looks good. I like it.
Yeah, it looks like kind of a continuation of the idea of what Fight Forever is, which is more of an arcade style kind of game. It's a free update coming soon. We don't have a release date for it yet, but I'm excited. I'm absolutely going to be playing the Stadium Stampede mode. It just looks fun.
Oh yeah, and you guys can look forward to us playing some here on the pod as well. I just got back from Canada, got a lot of work backed up. Once I get all that cleared up, I'll be playing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Kook says, nice to see that Kenny tweeted out to the fans to give him improvement suggestions for Fight Forever. Yep, that was something else that also happened. Yeah, Kenny was like, hey, like, we know that this game is not perfect. We want to hear it. Let us know, And I think the response has been pretty good in terms of feedback, and I think they're going to make the game better, which is awesome. Funny story, and I know Jeff saw this in the Discord. So I went through an odyssey with GameStop where they screwed me on my pre-order bonus. The Matt Hardy pack, right?
You told me.
Okay, so I actually got some follow-up, some resolution.
Okay.
So you remember? Well, I haven't done it in the podcast, so I'll tell the story real quick. I went to pick up Fight Forever, my pre-order at GameStop. I pre-ordered it because I wanted the Matt Hardy pack to get both Matt Hardy and Matt Hardy. Went to GameStop, paid for it, picked it up the day it launched, and they printed out the receipt, and there was no pre-order bonus code on the receipt. And I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm like, hey, there's no pre-order bonus. Number one, the guy at GameStop didn't even know that the game came out that day. So that was that's a bad look. Yeah. Like, it's not even a wrestling thing. It's like, you didn't know that there was a game launching. Like, that's not a good. That's
I don't know if it's a good look on GameStop or the game itself.
I think GameStop. I mean, I think the fact that the guy had to go look in the back, like, oh, here's a case of the game.
Yeah.
He didn't even have it ready. Anyways, so he's like, there was no pre-order bonus, and I'm like, sir, there is a pre-order bonus. I know there is. And he's like, oh, maybe it's in the case. And now I'm like, well, some games do that.
Yeah,
so I'm like, okay, I'll give this guy a benefit of the doubt and believe that he has no idea that there's a pre-order bonus. Because there is none on his end. So I take the game home, I ran some errands, go home, open up the case, there's no code in there. And I'm like, great. So I'm like, well, maybe it's already on the disc, and it's the first
Sometimes
run.
It's on the receipt, code on the
Yeah, there was no code on the receipt. There was no code in the case. There was no update that had it on the disc. So I went back to GameStop and I told the GameStop guy, same guy that was there that morning, and some other guy now, and he still doesn't believe me as a pre-order bonus. The other guy Googles it. He's like, oh, the Matt Hardy pack? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, well, let's look it up. And he's like, I don't see anything. And he looked like 3 more times. He's like, oh, wait, here's a memo. Apparently it wasn't printing for some of the stores in the area. Call the 800 number. And they'll give you the pre-order bonus. And I'm like, okay, this is an extra step that I don't want to do. But
which I told you when you told me that sounded like they just wanted you out the store. Here's a phone number. Get out of the store.
But I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I don't know your system. I don't know what's possible, what's not possible, and I'm not one of those people. So I call the GameStop customer support, and the first thing the guy says is, "Why did they have you call me?" And I'm like, that's not a good start to this conversation, sir. And so he was like trying to pull up my receipt, which apparently they said they could do. And I'm literally reading off the receipt, store number, the cashier, my Power Up Rewards member, like everything, every number that he would need that he says he needs. And he's like, well, we just don't see the receipt. And I'm like, I was the first customer there when the store opened at 12 o'clock. My receipt says 12:01 because I was there when the store opened. So like I'm the first customer of the day. Like if you could look up the receipt, look up the first receipt of the day. And like 2 minutes later, the call dropped.
dropped.
And I'm like, oh, great. So I call back, and at this point, I'm a little irked. So I'm like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be a dick. I don't want to be that guy. This is ridiculous. Like, they're saying, call the number, get the code. You guys are saying you need the receipt. Here's the receipt. Read the numbers. The guy apologizes, and he says, oh, I found the receipt. No problem. He's like, so we have to send it to the management team, and they have to approve it, and then you'll hear back in 1 to 3 business days. And I'm like, that sounds like you're trying to get me off the phone. But all right. So a week passed, and I'm like, okay, haven't heard back. So at this point, like, it's just a $5 thing. It's not about the $5 pack. It's the principle. So I email the customer support. I'm like, one more try before I just like, I don't even know. I'm just gonna like leave a bad review, which I'm not not that kind of guy, but I'm just gonna leave a bad review on the store at this point. And like do a survey. And so the email was like, can you send us a picture of your receipt? And I sent a picture of the receipt. And they were like, here's the code. I was like, thanks. Why couldn't the 4 other GameStop people that I've talked to so far have helped me like? So I have the code, and I feel dead inside. Dang. Anyway, let's move on. I'm so miserable that was my life. Last news headline before we get to the topic of the show. We started with a remaster or a remake, and now we're talking about another remake, Devroro. Is Red Dead Redemption, the first one, to be remade? Recently, the South Korean ratings board suddenly published a classification for Red Dead Redemption, way more than a decade after the game was released. This, paired with rumors of such a project existing, has given way to the belief that we're extremely close to seeing Red Dead Redemption Remaster surface. Colin Moriarty, who used to be with Kind of Funny, now does his own thing, Colin's Last Stand, and stuff like that, said that he has seen proof that the Red Dead Redemption Remaster actually exists. He believes it's going to be announced in August, so next month. I've followed Colin Moriarty for a long time. He doesn't strike me as a bullshitter. So,
oh yeah, no,
I think this is absolutely a project. This is absolutely a thing. I really hope it's not like the Grand Theft Auto remaster stuff. I hope it's actually good. I hope it's really good because Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, some of the best games ever made. I absolutely want to remaster.
Remember, we talked about it. That's a series I haven't played.
Yeah, you're gonna play it. It's on the list.
So this is a remaster that's about to come out, like better.
Yeah,
I just hope it's good.
I hope so as well.
Perfect time to.
It would be, yeah. So I'm hoping that that's something to see.
Hold up, Deb's never played Red Dead Redemption 1?
No,
or 2. So yeah, no spoilers. It's
oh my god.
Yeah, so Jeff, we have a list of games that we're currently working through. That's why he's playing the older Call of Duty campaigns. And like we're like working through this list of games he's never.
Well, this Red Dead 1 needs to be moved to the top of your list.
Yeah, I mean,
well, if this remaster comes out, then yes, it will be.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite games of all time.
It's so good. Red Dead Redemption is so good. Both of them are just so amazing.
If they had ever made some sort of open world of this where it was multiplayer and there was just people everywhere, kind of like a GTA, I would still be playing it to this day.
Wasn't that what Red Dead Redemption 2 multiplayer was supposed to be?
Yeah, but it kind of died off. Like people didn't support it, people didn't play it, and it kind of died. I mean, I think it's still online. You can still do it, but they stopped supporting it. Yeah, they were just like, oh, we're done with it. But that is it for the news headlines. Let's run through the game releases of the week real quick before we get into our main topic of the show. Still, again, no news on the verdict leaking or anything like that. So, we're still keeping an eye on it. We'll still be here for a little bit longer, and we'll react if it happens to leak. But we will see. But real quick, game releases for the week. Kind of a slow week. After that hectic June we had, July's been pretty slow. Coming out this week on the 12th, which is Wednesday. Wow, so we got some game releases on a Wednesday for one. Mordhau comes out for the PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, and Xbox One. Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals comes out on PS5, PS4, Switch, PC, Mac, iOS, Android. Both on the 12th. On the 13th, Gravity
I got a little bit of gameplay running. It doesn't look horrible. Yeah, it actually looks like something that should be in an arcade on a cabinet, which oddly enough is what I have up right now on our screen. It looks like this should be a cabinet game. Oof. So as I'm seeing some of this Exoprimal gameplay here, there's one thing bothering me. And it's dinosaurs, but they're like falling out of the sky to spawn. I'm like, what the what is that? It's raining dinosaurs from weird purple balls. Okay. No, yeah, it looks I would actually play it. I would at least try it.
Right. Well, let's get into the topic of the show, which is we're going to talk about the Xbox or Microsoft versus FTC case trial. Now, obviously, Devroro, this would have been a big thing we talked about last week.
We're cutting out.
Oh, are we cutting
Are
out?
we having audio issues?
Ty or Jeff, are we cutting out?
Not that I can tell, but let me check. Here, I'll check.
Yeah, go ahead. Jeff's going to check it out real quick. But this would have been a big topic that we would have talked about last week, but obviously, again, we weren't able to really get together. But the biggest obstacle for Microsoft and this Activision Blizzard acquisition, believe it or not, is the FTC. A lot of people are looking at the CMA, but it's not really the CMA that people need to worry about. It's the FTC. Ty says we're okay now. Okay, cool. And I think that whatever. I think that with Microsoft, or I'm sorry, with the CMA, they're kind of begging, praying that the FTC gets this blocked, because I think Microsoft is making it very clear that they're going to play hardball in the UK, and if they have to not bring games to the UK, they will do that. Obviously, though, if it falls apart in the US and the UK, then
Yeah,
that's the deal right there. However, my opinion here, I think that the FTC has done a terrible job throughout the case, and we're going to run through a quick little recap, talk some headlines, give some opinions on some of the stuff. And I just think I can't help but think that the FTC just did a terrible job. The argument that they tried to make that it was going to be bad for the consumers, I think a lot of it was, number one, even the judge at some point pointed out we're not trying to protect Sony. We're supposed to be talking about the consumers here. And we're gonna get into some interesting little tidbits that came out, but I do think at the end of the day, my personal opinion is that Microsoft's gonna win this. I think the judge is going to let the deal go through. The FTC is going to lose here, and I think that in a few weeks we're gonna be talking about them closing the deal.
Yeah, real quick. So if you were to have watched this and saw what the judge was saying to the FTC guy, she was basically like, "Why are you mentioning Sony so much? This is about the consumers, like you said." Yeah. The FTC revealed their hand here, that they weren't fighting for the consumer. They were fighting for PlayStation here. And they made it extremely obvious. And the judge's eyebrow, as soon as that eyebrow went up, it was over. I'm pretty sure that judge is like, "No, not having this."
There was one line that really stood out to me during the judge put it together, kind of like what you said, Jeff, with the eyebrow raise. But so there's one point where the judge says, "Wait a second. So Microsoft is trying to make Call of Duty more available on different like streaming services that it's not available on right now, correct? Like cloud services. And they're like, correct. She's like, so how is this bad for the consumer if it's going to be available in more places? And then the FTC, she's like, oh, it's coming to Nintendo consoles. So okay, so it's coming to more consoles once it's bought by Xbox. And then the FTC was like, well, we don't consider Nintendo competition. And I'm like, well, first of all, that's ridiculous. At the end of the day, Nintendo puts out a box just like Xbox and PlayStation, and they're also trying to compete to make sure people buy their box and their game. They are absolutely competition. Would you agree with that sentiment, or do you like when you talk do you like obviously Nintendo plays its own game,
Yeah,
and so like they're also kind of operating in a slightly different way. But when you talk about in terms of like
I think
entertainment, like the console market,
I think
I think
you have to
Nintendo
go
absolutely
if
is
you have to go
competition.
technically, yes, they are.
Mhm.
I honestly don't think. I think Nintendo sits outside because growing up, everyone had an Xbox or PlayStation and the Nintendo console.
Absolutely.
And I think it's always been like that. You had this, and everyone had a Wii, and you have this, and now everyone has a Switch. So I think it sits outside. But if you want to get technical, I think it is technically a competition, and
So-
like either
Nintendo
whether it
has
is or
one
not.
of the best-selling games of the year. Of course, they're competition.
Yeah, and like
Exactly.
whether they are or not, putting Call of Duty out there on that console, where I don't know how it's going to run, but putting it on that console is a good thing, I would think. I would
Nintendo-
think if they were taking it off of PlayStation, then obviously you have a point that taking away from consumers, but they're keeping it on PlayStation.
Exactly.
And
That's
bringing
why
it to
they
other places.
Well, so day one, they have Phil Spencer on the stand, and or I don't know if it was Phil, it was somebody from Xbox, and they were like, Call of Duty's remaining on PlayStation, and it was like as simple as that. It was like mic drop, and like Foss Patents, who I've been following a lot, he's done a great job reporting on the case, and like I've literally read like all of 700 of his tweets last week, or like since the case started. And he was like, that's a mic drop moment. Like, that's the moment where I'm telling you right now, as an analyst who looks at this stuff for a living, Microsoft is winning this. He's like, that's the whole argument. Is like, is PlayStation going to, or is Call of Duty going to be exclusive to Xbox? And like, they just said under oath, on the stand under oath, like, it's going to come to PlayStation. Our plan is for it to be on PlayStation. It's under oath. So, I mean, kind of what it is. Ty says the FTC's first argument is market definition, which they flop. Nintendo part of the market. Exactly.
Yeah,
I agree.
are.
That's a flop. They are part of the market.
That's true.
It doesn't matter if they're doing their own thing. It's part of the market. Ty says second argument, Microsoft shows signs of console exclusives, Indiana Jones and Starfield, which we'll get into in a little bit. Sorry, Jeff. You gonna say something?
Yeah, one more thing for me is that Tears of the Kingdom outsold the game that is basically causing the entire trial to go on. We're talking basically Call of Duty is the reason all this is happening, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom outsold Call of Duty, so to call them not a competitor is insane to me.
That is true.
It's just a really bad. The FTC is, again, you can say you agree with the FTC, and you could say you don't want the deal to go through. That's fine. That's your opinion. But you can't sit here and say the FTC did a good job in defending the case. They absolutely did a terrible. Everything that they brought to the table argument-wise was debunked by either Microsoft or the judge herself. So, let's run through some quick little things and just try to get into them. Sarah Bond was on the stand. She said Xbox Cloud is actually Game Pass Ultimate's least popular feature. Xbox's Matt Booty said that a decision has not yet been made on Outer Worlds 2 coming to PlayStation or not yet.
But I don't think it will.
I don't think it will either.
To be
I
honest,
think
yeah.
that this is them just saying like, yeah, we're still thinking, because they said the same thing about Elder Scrolls 6, where they're like, the game's over 5 years out, like we don't know yet.
They were really careful with their words when they were still buying Bethesda, where where they're saying like they're like, we can't possibly see these games not coming to PlayStation, and they bought it and they're not coming to PlayStation.
Well, there's more down. We'll get into it as we go.
Yeah.
Microsoft expects the next generation of consoles to come out in 2028. This was revealed in the court documents released ahead of the trial on day one, I believe.
I think that was more interesting to see that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, well, there's more. We're getting into it,
Yeah. Or the cost of games, is that on this list?
Yes.
Okay, because that was pretty interesting.
I was trying to find a really good comprehensive list because again, there was so much stuff that came out. This was the best list I could find, and I even think it's not the best, but we're working. Again, if we had done a show last week, it would have been a lot more like concise, but it's okay.
Real quick, I just saw one of the most ridiculous things part of this trial that I've ever seen. So the FTC is arguing that Xbox is going to make games and items exclusive to Xbox and that's bad. At the same time, they've referenced PlayStation a million times in the case. Listen, you remember I used to be a PlayStation mark. I was a PlayStation fanboy, still kind of am. But I played Destiny. I played Destiny for a long time, and there was multiple items locked on PlayStation on Destiny. There were, I mean, you name it. There was raids locked. I mean, not raids. I'm sorry. There were I forget what they're called now, but there were entire levels of the game locked to PlayStation. So that is a ridiculous argument for the FTC to say.
And I was telling Jerome, like, we've had this argument before.
Mhm.
I personally, maybe not locations on a game, maybe the time exclusive is fine. I don't have an issue with cosmetics being locked to a console.
Right.
And I know Xbox gave that up with this whole fight, but I would have been fine if they did the same thing, because Sony's doing it right now, like we talked about.
Yeah, that's literally like
and
what people were saying.
It's I don't think it's a good or bad thing. I just think it's one of those things where you can't point a finger if you're doing the same thing. You can't, you know what I mean?
Well, I thought it was funny. So
Like,
FTC,
they're gonna do the thing that we're doing. You know, it's like,
so FTC literally, this was an example that they used. They said, they were like, but could you imagine if there was a Christmas themed skin exclusive to Xbox? And like, we're like, PlayStation had a Christmas exclusive skin this year.
yeah. And it's a bad argument because I don't think there's anything wrong. Personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
agree. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like, we're not even debating whether it's right or wrong. We're just debating on whether it's a good argument.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
terrible argument.
yeah.
It's so bad. But so yeah, Microsoft's expecting the next generation of consoles to come out in 2028. You should probably get on buying a Series X before
Yeah.
it's too late.
I got 5 more years, so I might as well.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I thought that was interesting. That was a really cool little thing. So Sony's Jim Ryan did some video testimony during the trial. He was pretty sure that we will continue to see Call of Duty on PlayStation for many years to come. He wrote this in an email to other PlayStation employees in response to the news Microsoft intended to buy Activision Blizzard. Ryan also said the acquisition wasn't exclusivity play at all, which is big contrast to Sony's public-facing messaging over the last year. So in this email, Jim Ryan says, like, hey guys, look, number one, Call of Duty is still going to come to PlayStation. I have faith in that. I've had conversations with Phil Spencer. This is what they're doing. They're looking at it bigger. They're thinking big picture, bigger than exclusive, which again is very contradictory to what they've been saying as a brand, as PlayStation, saying that these things will not happen. So, kind of got a little exposed there.
And like, it's one of those things where I do think that Xbox is still being very careful with their words.
Sure.
Because and we talked about this before, I don't think a 10-year deal is long enough. Because that means, halfway through the next console generation, there's no more Call of Duties on PlayStation. That's a very possible thing that could happen. PlayStation is leading the market in console sales by a huge margin compared to Xbox, and like, that'll really help. So it's like, they're being very careful with their words. Many years to come. This means 10 years right now.
Honestly, and like, so we've talked about this. I do think Xbox intends to
I hope so.
honor it.
I do hope so.
But here's something that people aren't really thinking about that very well could happen is, will PlayStation allow Call of Duty to continue to run on its platforms? And here's what I mean by that. So Xbox, I don't know if it's in this note in this recap, but Xbox said at one point that like there's no PS5 version of Minecraft because PlayStation didn't feel comfortable giving a PS5 dev kit to Microsoft. And Sony also said that they aren't planning on giving PS6 dev kits to Microsoft to make Call of Duty. So it's like, how are you going to do that?
Yeah, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
PlayStation might be setting itself up here, which, like, it's in terms of a chess game, if it's intentional, it is a masterfully played game of chess, like, move by Xbox here, where it's like, oh, we'll make Call of Duty PlayStation, come to PlayStation, but you're gonna have to give us a dev kit before the console comes out. And like, I can understand why PlayStation would not want to do that.
No, I understand that too.
So it's like, that could be a crazy move where Xbox is like, well, we want Call of Duty on PlayStation, but they won't give us a dev kit. They don't want to sign a deal. I'm like, wow, that could be a ripple effect that we aren't, like, no one's thinking about.
And it's also one of those things where Call of Duty sells crazy well on PlayStation. We all know this.
There's a number I think up in this.
So like, it just makes more sense for Xbox to sell it, at least currently, or at least like, I don't know. It's weird.
So let's head over to the chat real quick. Barry Murray says there's a YouTuber, MBG, last week giving out about Starfield exclusivity, and someone asked him, why are you so mad? Why does it bother you? You have a gaming PC. He couldn't answer. Console war BS. Ty says Barry. He says not surprised. He's a troll. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I agree. I think the console war stuff is kind of dumb. Obviously, I have a preference, but I want all three of the consoles to be at their best. I think this year is a really cool year because I'm playing Zelda on my Switch right now. I'm gonna be playing Starfield in September, and then, I mean, I want to say I'm going to be playing Spider-Man this year as well, but it depends on how long Starfield's going to take. But the point is that I'm going to play Spider-Man like right after Starfield. So it's like I really love that. Like I'm going to have all three games, like all three consoles, playing something big this year.
Did you get Final Fantasy?
So I didn't buy it. It's on my wish list on Amazon.
Okay.
So it's like it's like I want to get it.
Yeah.
I've
seen a lot of good stuff about it, so I was asking.
I mean, I think it looks like a good game. I wish that Final Fantasy kind of stuck to its RPG roots a little bit. Like, I like those action adventure games. You know me. I love that genre, but like that's not what I
know you
want.
lean more to the RPG stuff.
No, I love both, but it's just that's not what I want out of Final Fantasy. You know what I mean? Like, I want to play a good RPG when I'm
still. I don't know. It looks really good, and you really enjoyed the remake 7. So.
I did, and I'm sure I'll love 16. It's just a matter of time. Raider7528 says the issue with COD is Xbox will make it free on Game Pass. Sony will lose lots of consumers. So like I don't know how well that's going to translate over. I mean, I do think that they are going to lose customers to Game Pass, but Judge Corley said it during the case. It was actually funny. So, again, I don't know if it's in the recap. I'm just going off my memory. So, at one point, the judge asks why PlayStation just doesn't make its service better. Like, she said that. She's like, the Thor game. And she was talking about God of War Ragnarok. But she says, the Thor game, why isn't that on PlayStation service? That's a PlayStation-made game.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you. Like, yes, that's why. Like, why can't PlayStation make PlayStation Plus better? Why do we have to focus on, well, Game Pass can't get that good because that's not fair to PlayStation. It's like, well, why can't PlayStation just make their service better to compete with Game?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think that's easier said than done. I think Game Pass is on another level with like where it is. I don't know. I don't think Sony has the ties, but she has a point. Why you have to do something. Even Nintendo's doing their own thing with their service.
Grant says, so if Microsoft gets Blizzard, do you think new COD games will be on Game Pass day one? I don't think this year will be, but I think
moving forward
after this year, maybe next year, maybe the following.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially like multiplayer. I think that's an easy.
Barry says Zelda Tears of the Kingdom game of the year. Do you guys agree or what? So, yeah, I'm going to be beating the game tonight or tomorrow, depending on how much I want to prep for the final fight. But I'm about to go do at least what I believe is the last thing. For me right now, it is the game of the year. I usually don't give review scores until I beat a game, but like it's a 10 out of 10. And right now, I think it's game of the year. I do think that
I can't say 100% because this is a stacked year for games. We talked about this.
I was about to say, I think that there's a good chance that Starfield could be like a game of the year. I think Spider-Man might fall a little short.
Yeah.
Right now, Tears of the Kingdom is my favorite game I've played this year. But then again, like you said, it's been a stacked year because I played Octopath Traveler 2 this year I loved. I haven't played Resident Evil 4 yet, which I really want to get into. I haven't played Final Fantasy, Diablo 4.
We got Pikmin coming out in 10 days.
Pikmin's coming out in
11 days.
Yeah, 11 days.
It's a stacked year for
It's so stacked.
I do think it's game of the year. I don't think for me it's not 100% because it's like
I think it's going to be winning game of the year awards.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know if it's mine yet. As of right now, it is, but that could change. I don't know, but I think yes,
it's going to win awards for sure. Yeah. I don't think it'll clean house. You know what I mean? Too many.
Yeah. Raider says Sony first-party games cost more to develop. There is a factoid. We're getting to that as well, I believe, on this list. Ty says PlayStation won't lose that. That's somewhere you're going to see the subscribers really go up when it's like, hey, like PC Game Pass includes like WoW and COD and all of that. Like I think that the Activision thing, it's going to really move those PC.
And I think also X really good with making a cheaper version of a console that people can just buy as like their second console. You can still have your PS5 and just get a cheaper version of Xbox or streaming. Streaming is also really big with Xbox right now.
Jeff, we're good, Jeff? Okay, we're good. We're back. I don't hear Jeff, but we're back.
Yeah, we're good.
I was basically last 10 seconds was like Game Pass PC is gonna do really well with the
Yeah.
Activision Blizzard stuff.
And streaming is going to get better, where people could just, like we said, with Samsung TVs, it's already built in. You just stream. You can stream a Game Pass on your TV. You just need an Xbox controller.
Yeah.
So like,
Barry asked a really great question. He says Resident Evil 4 was amazing, but should remakes count for Game of the Year? I think that it depends on how much of a remake it is. From what I've seen, Resident Evil 4 remake seems like a from the ground up remake with some similar, like the plot lines are the same.
there'll be a new category, remake of the year.
I think that it can win. Like, if you just port a game with like upscaled graphics, I don't know if you can say that's Game of the Year. I don't think that can be winning. But I think a remake, like a straight up remake, like I know that I've played Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, and those games are nothing like that. And I love both the remakes. So
Yeah, I think remakes count. I don't know about remaster.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's keep moving on. Microsoft admits, and this is such a sympathy thing. This is just them being like, guys, please, we're
yes and no.
Microsoft admits that Xbox has lost the console wars. It's such a like factually, like yes, they are in third place, but like I love this thing. Like I could just see like big Microsoft corporation like we lost the console wars, guys.
You got to give Activision Blizzard. We lost.
Yeah, like we lost. We're dead. We're dying, and it's just like that's a sympathy thing.
Yeah.
That was funny. That was really funny. I really loved that little tidbit. Pete Hines of Bethesda during the trial said Starfield wouldn't be out in 9 weeks, which is it's coming in September. So like that's what he means.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be coming out in September if it was releasing on PS5. He says Xbox exclusivity has streamlined development somewhat, allowing for more rounds of quality assurance. However, Hines also indicated that he felt blindsided by Xbox's commitment to make Call of Duty multi-platform, wondering why the same couldn't be done for games like Starfield. I think it differs. I mean, just like we've talked about this on the podcast. I think Xbox's strategy is to create these two giant pillars of revenue that go everywhere, being Call of Duty and Minecraft, and then you let the rest of the Xbox studios just do their thing. And I think that's kind of what it. Let's head over to the chat again. There he says, just came across the channel. Have to say, refreshing to see how unbiased yous are. Subscribed. Thanks, Barry.
Welcome,
Appreciate
Barry.
that, man. That's awesome, dude. Appreciate it. And Ty also says nice things. Thank you, Ty. Love you, man. Let's keep moving on. Microsoft claims Bobby. Oh no, hold on. Thing went up a little bit. Machine Games Indiana Jones game was originally planned for release on PlayStation 5 as well as Xbox. However, after the Bethesda deal went through, Disney and Xbox reworked the deal to make it exclusive to Xbox and PC. I'm personally happy about this. Again, like I said, I want to see these companies doing well, and I think that like outside of Call of Duty and Minecraft, I absolutely think that it makes a lot of sense for Xbox to make the Indiana Jones exclusive. I think it really helps them, and it helps them compete. So I'm happy with that. I'm also very excited for the game.
Yeah,
we've been watching the movie, so I really want to hear about that.
I do think it's one of those where it's good for Xbox definitely to make the game exclusive, but I don't think it's necessary. You know what I mean? I think it was. I think that it's the same argument that we have with Final Fantasy.
It's not the same
because they own it.
Yes, it's 100% They're developing it in-house. They're 100% footing the bill. The people making the game are Microsoft employees, Xbox employees, if you were. Let's see. Barry's asking if there's any update on the FTC. I'm gonna do a little check. I don't believe so. It's been pretty quiet. There's some rumblings that we might not hear about it till the 12th. So we don't know. We're keeping an eye on it though, but I do not see anything at the moment. Sorry, what was your...
I think we're likely to get possibly some leaks tomorrow if anything did get decided. But like I said, I think as the public, we're going to find out on the 12th, like the actual real,
Yeah. Well, so the reason being, Jeff, is that a lot of people are speculating, including like some of the analysts that actually like do this stuff for a living. They're saying that there is a 5-day period where Xbox cannot close the deal. So therefore they would have to... this verdict has to come out 5 days before the cutoff, which is, I believe, the 8th, which the 12th is in that time frame. But the judge understands that they're not trying to drag. She's not trying to drag her feet. She wants the decision to come out as soon as possible.
And Barry, we both wanted to go through. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's better for Activision. It's better for Xbox, and like a better Xbox is a better games industry. A better PlayStation is a better games industry. Like I don't agree with some of the things PlayStation does to compete. I do find them kind of underhanded, and I'm not a fan of them. But at the end of the day, like if Xbox buys Activision, if someone were to say to me like, "Oh, well, what if PlayStation bought Square Enix?" I'd be like, "Okay." I mean, I have a PlayStation. I'm gonna play those games one way or the other, so it doesn't matter to me. Ty completely disagrees with Devroro.
Yeah.
He says it is necessary. If Indiana Jones is multiplayer, it signals Xbox is the place for cheap Game Pass deals, but not exclusives. PlayStation will always be the place to get the best in gaming if they don't.
Well, that's what I said. I agree that it's good for Xbox.
But no, it's necessary for the brand. You said it's unnecessary. I completely agree with Ty that it's 100% necessary for them to get these big exclusives on Game Pass.
So that's kind of funny that TJ said that like that because, you know, like I said earlier, I was a PlayStation fanboy. I have always thought that exclusive things were like a PlayStation thing, and then the Game Pass type stuff was an Xbox thing. So I was always like, I'm a PlayStation guy. I like the exclusives, you know. And I had friends who were complete the opposite. They were like, dude, I want the Game Pass stuff. I get all kinds of games for X amount. Like, it's great. And you know, that's just kind of the way it was. That's how I always looked at it.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Moving along real quick. So Microsoft claims that Bobby Kotick demanded bigger revenue share to put Call of Duty on Xbox. So this was back when the this gen was starting. He said that Bobby Kotick demanded Xbox have a 80%, 20% revenue split instead of the usual 70-30. Which is, I thought this was a really weird thing to come out of this, where it's like, so PlayStation, it had to do with the PlayStation, where like PlayStation was still getting the 70-30, but Xbox had to pay more. I thought that was kind of weird. It was a very weird thing, but I think it also just kind of shows a necessity for Xbox to kind of fight back. You know what I mean? Which is why I do agree with them buying Activision Blizzard. So other things that happened on day 2 of the trial, Phil Spencer confirmed that Microsoft tried to buy Zynga before it was acquired by Take-Two. They also tried to buy Sega. They also tried to buy, what was the other one?
There was a few.
There was a list.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find the list. This thing doesn't have the list on here like I was hoping. I know Zynga and Sega were 2 of them. Supermassive Games was another one.
Destiny.
Bungie, they tried to buy
Bungie.
But there was a lot of them basically. They were looking at a bunch of acquisitions. Square Enix was one that they looked at for the mobile department, which I thought was an interesting reason to buy Square Enix personally, but see, we already talked about that one earlier. Activision tells employees that the FTC claims are factually weak and legally a stretch. And that was a message delivered from Activision Blizzard communications officer Lulu Meservi, which she's been like posting a lot of memes about Sony and stuff like that. She's actually been a pretty decent follow on Twitter these days. It also came out that the Elder Scrolls 6 is still 5+ years away, and they haven't decided if there's going to be a PlayStation version yet or not. There's not going to be a PlayStation version.
Yeah.
This is them. This is Microsoft, you know, fighting their case as they have the right to do.
You got to be careful with your words, of course.
Yeah, they're like, we haven't really decided. We might bring it to place. They're not.
We don't have a dev
There
kit,
is
so
absolutely no chance. Like, okay, here's the thing. Outer Worlds 2, maybe. Like, it's a very soft maybe. The first one came out, and it was, you know, on PlayStation and Xbox, so, like, maybe. There is no chance in this world that Elder Scrolls 6 is not an Xbox.
I agree.
It's just not happening.
Yeah.
There's literally been, even before they bought Bethesda, there are other Elder Scrolls games that didn't even come to PlayStation. I think Morrowind didn't come to PlayStation.
Didn't know that.
Or Oblivion. It's one of those two. Didn't come to PlayStation. Xbox exclusive. So, there's no chance. There's no shot that Elder Scrolls 6 is coming to PlayStation, in my opinion. Phil Spencer confirms that Starfield was going to potentially be a PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, I heard
and it was one of the key reasons why they bought Bethesda. And I mean, I think that that's completely fair. I actually thought that was a really great reason. They were like, hey, just so you know, PlayStation's about to pay to make another Bethesda game exclusive. And they were like,
You have $7 billion real quick?
Yeah, like that's really what happened. Is like, but also that kind of has to make you think like Starfield was the one that broke the camel's back, where they were like, we can't miss out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Um,
That would have been a massive hit. That would have been great for PlayStation.
That would have been
a massive hit for Xbox.
Could you imagine this holiday season, Starfield and Spider-Man,
Yeah.
and nothing on Xbox? That would have been insane. So yeah, I'm glad that they went. Phil Spencer, while under oath, says, "I will do whatever it takes to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation." Let's see. The FTC tried to. Microsoft and FTC called in economic experts to stand in to the stand. They had differing opinions on if Call of Duty is a unicorn. The FTC's witness said Call of Duty is unique because of its annual release schedule, while Microsoft witness said Call of Duty is not an essential must-have. I kind of agree with both. I mean, there are plenty of people that I know that haven't played a Call of Duty game in like 10 years, 15 years. So you haven't like you've never bought a new Call of Duty game, have you?
No.
Exactly. So
Yo, Barry's saying that in Brazil, Diablo 4 just made its way to Game Pass about half an hour ago. That's crazy.
So yeah, we talked about this a little earlier. It was an advertising that was pulled. I don't think it actually made it to the app, but so we're speculating that they are anticipating the deal going through, and I think that they're going to put Diablo 4 on Game Pass almost right away when the deal closes. I think that that's going to be like the first thing that happens is like, hey, Diablo 4 on Game Pass.
Yeah, I don't think it's on Game Pass right now.
Yeah,
but there are advertisements for it.
Right. But then they pulled the
Like
advertisement. Yeah. Pulled them. PlayStation boss Jim Ryan admits that Starfield Xbox exclusivity is not anti-competitive. So that was, I mean, I guess he's under oath, so he's not going to lie. Sony boss Jim Ryan also says that many publishers believe Xbox Game Pass is a value destructive. I know what I just said, but I just don't think.
And it's one of those things where if just ask the developers of the game.
I think that the problem is that so Jim Ryan says that it's value destructive. I don't think that it's value destructive. I think it's the way PlayStation operates their business model. I think it's model destructive. I think that PlayStation sees Game Pass as a legitimate threat in terms of PlayStation likes to make the game, sell you the one copy for $70, sell you your accessories, and then you fuck off until the next PlayStation comes out. Which that's how it works, and I'm not saying that's a bad model. It's just the model PlayStation wants. PlayStation does not want to support PlayStation Plus. That's why the Thor game is not on PlayStation Plus. Like, PlayStation could very easily compete with Game Pass in that way. Just be like, hey, Spider-Man's coming out in October. It's a day one release with PlayStation Plus. It's like, okay, well that if that's going to be your strategy, that is an argument for PlayStation Plus being a must-own subscription service alongside Game Pass.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's value destructive. I think it's a good value if you want to play Xbox games and you want to play the games that come to Game Pass. It's a great model to go. Like, I just think Sony, they don't like the model because they don't want to follow that model, and they know that that model is the way to go, or a way to go.
TJ stealing that phrase from you.
Model destructive. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I'm glad that I can contribute. Barry says, could PlayStation go down the route of day and date? I don't know, man. I think maybe if this Call of Duty deal closes, there's a chance, but I don't think so. I really think PlayStation, they like the way that they do business. And again, I'm okay with the way they do business. I just think that I think both models are very successful in their own ways.
I think, and it's weird because I think they can. I mean, like,
They could.
One thing we didn't talk about is Game Pass just went up in price. What, yesterday? 2 days ago?
Yeah, it's not a lot though. I think it's like $2 a month.
Yeah, but it it goes
It
up.
adds
That
up.
adds up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just went up in price. I think it's something that can. You buy 3 months. That's one game. Of game. You buy 3 months of Game Pass. That's $60.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, games are $70 now, but like, I don't know. I do think it's a model that PlayStation can do. I just don't know why they're not doing it.
They like what they do now.
You can make more money, you know?
They don't think so. They disagree.
I don't know.
They've even said it. They were like, we like our business model. But, you know, that's what it is. On day 3 of the trial, Jim Ryan was asked repeatedly during his deposition about a specific email he was sent by Phil Spencer in August of 2022 that supposedly changed his mind on Xbox's acquisition of Activision, taking him from feeling frustrated but resigned to fully against the transaction, convinced it was anti-competitive. Per Ryan, it set the alarm bells ringing. The email was not revealed, though. I don't know. I'm very curious about what was in that.
Yeah.
I would love to. Jim Ryan did some other video testimony for this. Microsoft considered buying Final Fantasy maker Square Enix, which he talked about. The Last of Us 2 and Horizon Forbidden West budgets were accidentally revealed in a poorly redacted document. So I don't know if you heard about this, but basically they redacted these numbers because they didn't want the public to know.
They used the marker.
They used a Sharpie.
Yeah.
And you could see the text though with the Sharpie. Even the judge later on joked like, no Sharpies in redacted documents. But so basically we found out that The Last of Us Part 2, Horizon Forbidden West, cost over $200 million.
Has Jim Ryan ever played a video game?
Did Barry say that? No, I don't think Jim Ryan played it. I don't know. That guy doesn't seem genuine at all. Like, that's why I like Phil Spencer. The guy just seems genuine. Like, when he does interviews, he's like, yeah, I used to play, you know, this such and such on my old PC back in the day. And he's like, he's been playing games forever, and he has an Xbox account. You can add him, and you'll actually see him playing games. You know, the dude seems genuine. So then the Microsoft CEO came up to the stand on day 3, and Satya Nadella said he has no love for console exclusives. He explains that if it was up to him, no console would have an exclusive game, and that this was Sony trying to keep a hold on the market by having console exclusives. And
that's the worst take.
I just want to say that is one of the absolute worst takes you could possibly have in the video game industry ever.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want consoles to have exclusive games? Like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's awful.
Yeah.
And I understand that he might not even mean this. This could just be him again fighting the court case where it's like, Call of Duty, it's gonna be everywhere. I don't even like exclusives. And I'm like, oh, that's a bad look. I hate it. I hate that look. But thank God Phil Spencer runs Xbox.
If you're doing it for the judge, you know, maybe she obviously doesn't know. She doesn't play. So maybe that's the, I don't know. It's a bad take to everyone else outside the courtroom.
So Barry has a great question. He says, if you were owners of Xbox and could purchase one publisher after Activision, who would you buy? I would buy Take-Two.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's
Grand
a lot
Theft
of money.
Auto, and
that's way more than $7. That's about the same price.
That's like $200 billion.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, no, I would buy Take-Two. I mean, again, if we're saying money's no object, if money's an object, probably Ubisoft or Square
That's
Enix.
another big one. I think Ubisoft's still up there. I know they're in trouble. They're in hot water, but I do think they're.
But no, which team makes Black Ops? Is that Treyarch?
Yeah, it's part of Activision.
Oh well, yeah.
But so yeah, that's what I would say. Yes. Take-Two. Is it? Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
You get Grand Theft Auto. There you go. Bam.
You get Grand Theft Auto. That's.
I've just solved Xbox's problem. Right now, somebody's like from Xbox is watching this, and they're like, Phil, to this 2K.
I would not be surprised if they're already in talks, just in case.
Yeah, exactly. GTA 6 would be an exclusive system. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God,
absolutely.
Now that might be the point where the judge is like, wait a second.
And I'd be buying the system with the GTA 6 graphics on it. You know what I mean? Like
Yep, absolutely.
Red Dead Redemption 1 remake, exclusive.
Bobby Kotick revealed that Call of Duty Warzone Mobile's coming this fall. Bobby Kotick also talks about Call of Duty exclusivity. He says that he does regret not bringing Call of Duty to the Nintendo consoles sooner, but also points out that with Xbox's deal, that would be happening.
Yeah, it's also, I guess, it's also difficult to put it on the Switch. The Switch is like console generation behind, and
yeah. Xbox claims worldwide regulators are on board with Activision Blizzard merger, and then Canada disagreed. So this is really funny. So basically, Xbox said on day 4, they were like, hey, like, right now the CMA says no and the FTC says no. Literally every other market in the world, every other regulator in the world that like could stop it, chose not to stop it.
I like how it says
and they approved.
They
it.
wrote a letter. Canada's like, well, actually,
Well, no, they did. So that's what
Dear
happened.
Microsoft.
That's what happened. They wrote a letter to the court and they were like, we actually did not like, but the weird thing about it is that like the window had passed for Canada to block the deal. They let it go through. They were
Yeah.
Go ahead, eh? and then like now all of a sudden they're like, I'm gonna write this respectful letter because I'm Canada.
Sorry.
Like, sorry. Yes, sorry, eh? All right, so look, here's a hot take. Canada, right? It's the New Jersey of North America. Terrible place. Absolutely terrible place. Jeff was there. Nothing but clouds and smoke. Jeff couldn't breathe. Jeff's walking around. 83-year-old Jeff.
They're on fire. Have sympathy.
They're on fire. No. How about no? No, that's just funny though. They wrote a little letter. They're like, yeah, we disagree with this. In Xbox's Phil Spencer seemingly decided to make all ZeniMax games exclusive following a 2021 meeting. And I think that's generally it. Do I have any other? Yeah, I have a few other ones. But so a really funny FTC moment, and Jeff brought it up, and I was also bringing it up later on. But yeah, the FTC was like, oh, what if there's exclusive cosmetics? Like, you don't want Xbox doing that. PlayStation's already doing that. And then here was another little thing that came out. I don't know if it came out in the actual trial or not, but Sony only had their deal with Call of Duty only includes one more. So like they need to re-sign their deal soon.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yep, they have one more game left on their deal, which I think would be the game that's coming out this year. And that is the updates that we currently have. Let's go back to the chat and see what's going on there. Ty says, Take-Two takes too long to make games. You get Capcom, you get Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, Monster Hunter, Street Fighter. That's a great one as well. Barry agrees with you, Ty. Capcom should bring back Castlevania.
Capcom would be much easier to get as well. I don't think many people would fight
So
them for that.
Konami is Castlevania. But I agree, Castlevania absolutely should. And yeah, Ty points out Castlevania is Konami. Konami would actually be a great purchase for them because there's some good IP there. You got Castlevania, Metal Gear. That would be a really good purchase for
Those
Xbox.
are both
and that would be a cheap purchase too.
Both Capcom and Konami are both two companies I would see Sony buying. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, completely.
Yeah, so
that's almost why I would argue though you have Xbox swoop in and buy them.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more purchases, whether this goes through or not.
I agree, and I think it's for the best. I have this opinion that I think a lot of the AAA third-party games industry in general, I think a lot of them have been left to their own devices, and they've made the games industry collectively worse. And that's just an opinion that I have. I think that you look at all the big publishers, and like Ubisoft has done poorly. Activision, EA, maybe not in profit margins, but like in terms of the product they're putting out, the quality, the business model.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not even the quality because the quality isn't usually that bad. It's the work ethic, the crunch. It's just not good. So it's like you look at all these big publishers out there, and it's just like, you got Square Enix over there. Like people are like, Square Enix, please just make Final Fantasy games. We just won Final Fantasy, and they're like, blockchain. It's like, but we just want Final Fantasy. Or we can just do blockchain. And the thing is, though, I do like, and I think we talked about this, I do like that they can have their own freedom. We don't know what it looks like when a company owns all of these gaming publishers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't say that it's better that, they all get bought up. I don't want that. I like that they can have their freedom to do blockchain stuff or whatever's weird.
No, I get that, but I think that there is a lot of security that comes with it. I mean, you look at Xbox, for example, right? Like in the last year, you've had Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment. Like I want to see like little studios get funding to make these really cool little unique niche games.
But you don't have to be acquired for that. You just make it.
Yeah, but the funding is where that comes in. Like you look at Gollum. Gollum didn't do well commercially, and they closed their studio down.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That sucks.
It's a bad game,
if that was an Xbox game, they would probably maybe somebody would have gotten laid off. But I
mean, Redfall came out.
Yeah, it did.
So it's like,
but
I don't think it changes.
My argument isn't that they're making good games all the time now. My argument is like, okay, well, Redfall came out. Guess what happens to Arcane? Back to the drawing board because they have funding that they can take a loss.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I really am of the opinion that you can go out and like purchasing these publishers is not a bad thing.
We don't know that though.
I mean, yeah,
hasn't happened yet,
it's,
you know what I
it's
mean?
purely an opinion, absolutely, but my opinion. Barry says, heard a good one yesterday. Some guy on Twitter had said Starfield only has 10% of life on the planets, which is pathetic. And someone replied, PS5 has 0% play.
Man, that's rough.
Oh man, that's a great stopping point for us tonight. That's a great place to end.
That reminds me of when IGN did remember they did like a comparison of games, and like the Xbox version and the PlayStation version. It wasn't on Xbox; it was just a blank screen.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Real quick before we get out of here, Barry asked if we played Final Fantasy 16. We have not yet. I'm going to play it. It's just a matter of when. I'm playing Zelda, so.
Force has been, and I've watched a little bit of him.
Oh, has he? Is he liking it?
It's a very pretty game. It's a very pretty game. It looks awesome.
Yeah, I heard the ending. I don't know anything about the ending. I just heard it.
All the fighting stuff.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, I am going to play it eventually. That's probably something. It'll probably be like one of the top games on my Christmas list this year. I'm gonna be like, someone buy me Final Fantasy. But no, I think it's just about it, Devroro. So right now you're playing Zelda still.
Yeah.
You're working on it.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Just beat the second dungeon.
Okay.
To the third. Yeah.
Okay. I think
You're almost done.
Like I said, I am about to go in there and do the final fight. I'm gonna do a few little things to prepare. I like to be overly prepared for these types of things.
I want to be done by the time Pikmin comes out. That won't happen. But
yeah. I'm off tomorrow too, so I'm definitely, if not tonight. Barry says, thanks guys, great stream. We'll be back. Awesome,
I'm
man.
glad. Do come back.
Yeah, so usually we're live on Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. I think next Monday I'm actually working a late shift, so we might try to do something a little different. But you're subscribed, so stay tuned. You should join the Discord. We talk about video games in Discord as well, just like everyone else should as well. Make sure you like the video and subscribe. Thank you to everyone who hung out with us here tonight. Thank you to Barry, to Ty, to the Coog. I think we had someone else new here tonight. Grant. Yes, Grant was here. Raiders, if you guys are still here, thank you so much. Please hit the like button, subscribe, check us out on our social medias. I think my Twitter link down in the description is messed up and Jeff needs to fix it. Join the Discord, though. That's the great way to kind of get in touch with us and hang out with us and talk stuff with us. If you like pro wrestling, we also do talk about wrestling here on this channel. We talk about AEW with our AEW Dynamite reviews on Wednesdays and our AEW Collision reviews on Saturdays. I think that's all I have for us. So yeah, we'll see you guys next time.